So since I moved to St. John, Canada, New Brunswick, Canada, from Nigeria, I haven't really had how would you say experience with other readers in this area. However, recently, and I'm really excited about this, as I hope you can tell. Recently, the Boys and Girls Club organized an annual book sale, and I stumbled on someone recommended that book sale to me, so I was able to check it out. And the moment we have been waiting for. Yes, it started. Yes. And the best man wins. It happened at the Brunswick Square, and it was amazing. It was amazing to see how it was amazing to see. So we literally had to wait outside. It was like, I couldn't believe how many book lovers were actually waiting for the sale to open. It didn't open till about 10 a.m. that particular Saturday. It was a little bit rainy, I remember, and I was astounded. I made one friend, didn't really make the friend to keep in touch after. We just had a short banter about books and what kind of books we were expecting to see or to buy. Well, different story. So I got in there when the sale opened, and I was looking out for a specific genre. I wasn't looking for African. It wasn't as if there were any African books or Nigerian books or African literature to find there. Not a disappointment. I'm not disappointed at all. But I was looking for science fiction and fantasy books. Recently, I've kind of developed an appetite for fantasy and science fiction. I don't know why. Maybe something I can interrogate in another video. But this video is really about what books I found and what books I bought and why. So to start off, I stumbled on one writer. It was really an introduction to this writer for me, stumbling on her work, and her name is Marion Zimmer. Marion Zimmer Bradley. So she'd written this book, a magical saga of the women behind King Arthur's throne. I did find something about Avalon, and if you're familiar with Arthurian, should we say Arthurian literature or Arthurian tales, Avalon is a common theme. Avalon is like heaven, is like Netherlands, it's the great beyond, it's paradise, so it's different things in different literatures, in different contexts, in different cultures, but so there we have it. Avalon is to Arthur as paradise is to maybe Jesus, as or choose your poison. So Marion Zimmer Bradley, writer of this magical saga, I was really interested. I saw the first book in the trilogy and passed it. I knew it was there, but I thought it was okay. Well, yeah, sure, another person trying to write fantasy about King Arthur. But when I stumbled on the book 2, yes, you guessed right. I didn't stop there. The curiosity didn't stop there. I stumbled on Ghostlight, and I was intrigued. So I just read the blurb. So it says, in the early days of the 60s, many people sought solutions to mankind's troubles in ancient religions and found that old wisdom had its place in the modern world. Among them were the followers of Thorn Blackburn, all seekers after truth. The group settled at Shadow's Gate, a magnificent old house in upstate New York. During the climatic night of Blackburn's most powerful ceremony, chaos erupted. Thorn Blackburn had vanished, and Catherine, Thorn's life partner and the mother of one of his young children, was dead. all that was 30 years ago. But Truth Blackburn, daughter of Thorn Blackburn and Catherine, is still seeking truth. I couldn't believe how many book lovers were actually waiting for the sale to open. It didn't open till about 10 a.m. that particular Saturday. It was a little bit rainy, I remember, and I was astounded. I made one friend, didn't really make the friend to keep in touch after. We just had a short banter about books and, you know, what kind of books we were expecting to see or to buy. Well, different story. So I got in there when the sale opened, and I was looking out for a specific genre. I wasn't looking for African, you know, it wasn't as if there were any African books or Nigerian books or, you know, African literature to find there. Not a disappointment. I'm not disappointed at all. But I was looking for science fiction and fantasy books. Recently, I've kind of developed an appetite for fantasy and science fiction. I don't know why. Maybe something I can interrogate in another video. But this video is really about what books I found and what books I bought and why. So to start off, I stumbled on one writer. It was, you know, really an introduction to this writer for me, stumbling on her work. And her name is Marion Zimmer. Marion Zimmer Bradley. So she'd written this book, A Magical Saga of the Women Behind King Arthur's Throne. I did find something about Avalon, and you know, if you're familiar with Arthurian, should we say Arthurian literature or Arthurian tales, Avalon is a common theme. Avalon is like heaven, is like Netherlands, it's the great beyond, it's paradise, you know. So it's different things in different literatures, in different contexts, in different cultures. But you know, so there we have it. Avalon is to Arthur as, you know, paradise is to maybe, you know, Jesus, as, you know, or, you know, choose your poison. So Marion Zimmer Bradley, writer of this magical saga, I was really interested. I saw the first book in the trilogy and passed it. I knew it was there, but you know, I thought it was okay. Well, yeah, sure, another person trying to write fantasy about King Arthur. But when I stumbled on the book 2, yes, you guessed right. I didn't stop there. The curiosity didn't stop there. I stumbled on Ghostlight and I was intrigued. So I'll take one, the blurb that really caught my attention and got me more interested in other works by Marion Bradley. So this is a quote by the San Francisco Chronicle Book Review, and it reads, "Over a decade ago, Marion Zimmer Bradley's best-selling The Mist of Avalon turned the Arthurian legend on its head. More than merely a feminist retelling, the novel added a new dimension to our mythic history. It was a breathtaking reimagining of history." Immediately I read that, you know, I remember that I had actually seen the first edition or the first book, Mist of Avalon, and I turned around. I went back to get it, and you know, of course, I held on to this one. There you go. I held on to this one and went back after the Mist of Avalon, and once I got it, you know, I needed to complete the circle. So what did I do? I went and I found, no, this is steady. Yes, so I was mistaken there. I actually have only Mist of Avalon and the sequel, Ghostlight. So I had these two. I thought I had the third. I think there's a third. I could research that and maybe leave a note in the description. But there you have it. Immediately I had these ones. On that particular day, I think these were the only two that I bought. I did buy a few books for the kids. It's a different story, different video about book recommendations for children. I did stumble or discovered something troubling about the adventures of Tom Sawyer, sorry, Huckleberry Finn, and if it was suitable to read to children under 5, you know. But again, different story. So on another day, I went searching, because you know the good thing about that book sale was that they they were always replenishing, so there was never vacuum on the table. They were always you know, restocking. So when you had, if you found that a box was empty or had some vacuum, they would reach under the table and bring out in fresh, I would say fresh, but bring out another set of books and then replace them. So you have, every time you go there, you depending on how quickly books were taken out of those boxes, they kept replacing, and yeah, there was always something new to look for or look forward to. And then I had another discovery. I made another discovery of Mercedes Lackey. It turns out each of the writers that I encountered for the first time in my foraging during that book sale actually maybe collaborated on one book project or another, either on their own and then maybe completed those projects on their own, or maybe in collaboration with other writers, which is quite a fascinating thing. I heard a few other things. I researched further all of these writers that I discovered, and I guess I'll share a few more as we go. So my second discovery was Mercedes Lackey, and my introduction to Mercedes Lackey was you know, so I saw a book called The Bardic Voices, and I thought that was a good I thought that was a, you know, somewhat a close reference to griot, which a reference that I'm used to or I can relate with. So I was really interested. I thought, okay, so what's this about? So she wrote a series of books entitled The Bardic Voices, book 1, book 2, book 3. I didn't know this at the time, but when I saw the first one that I saw was book 3, and it's called The Eagle and the Nightingales. It wasn't the Eagles and the Nightingales that really made me curious. It was the Bardic Voices, and I was really interested. I said, what was this about? Who wrote this? Okay, so again, I saw book 3, and I was like, okay, I think I passed. I already saw a few other books by Mercedes, and you know, but when I saw the book 3 of the Bardic Voices, I was like, should I check out what this is really about? You know, serendipity throws you very interesting, should I say, curves. And here's the blob that really caught my attention. It reads, a new novel in the world of Bardic Voices, the Robin and the Kestrel. This is book 2. Once upon a time, a prince married a gypsy, and they lived happily ever after. That's not the way this story ends. It is only the beginning. And yeah, well, anyway, I don't have much to say. I can't remember. There was something that happened then got me really intrigued about what Mercedes, you know, how Mercedes really tells her story in terms of these Bardic Voices, and you know, the world that she creates around her characters. So there you have it. I have all 3 in the Bardic Voices series. I have book 1, the Lark and the Wren. I have book 2, the Robin and the Kestrel, and I have book 3, the Eagle and the Nightingales. But one thing that's really interesting about all of these books is so far that I have talked about so far is that they are convincing. They have this compulsion or this attraction about them, which is that they have a story to tell. They are convinced that this story is worth telling, and that conviction is, you know, quite magnetic. Yeah, I might say. So that's, I have that there, and I think it just, you know, really would challenge me to develop some stamina in terms of following through with any of these stories from book one to the end, and really be able to say that this is what she wrote, and, you know, be able to decide for myself if I really enjoyed it, or she's a writer that I would really like to explore further. Last, I promise, this is the last set of books, and my third discovery at that book sale is Julian May. Now, I'll be honest, I can't always, this is my personal preference, this is my personal methodology, or the way I choose books or choose writers to read. Their lives interest me. The lives of writers interest me just as well as the stories that they tell. And one of the pages that I go to, which is, you know, first, is not just the first page to read how does the book start or how does the story start, and it's not just the blurb, but it's also the bios of the writers. And I think Julian May had one of the most interesting bios that I read that day, you know, before making up my minds about what books to pick up. And hers reads, hold on here, it was the one, the bio as written in, it was the bio as written in, yes, in the Blood Trillium, and in the back you have her picture, and her bio says Julian May is the author of the 5-book saga of the Pliocene Exile and co-author of Black Trillium. Of her work, the San Francisco Chronicle, again, said, of all the authors since The Lord of the Rings appeared, May has most closely matched J.R.R. Tolkien's achievements. An avid camper and hiker, she lives in Seattle area with her family. And, you know, of course, you know, it's kind of like cheating if you just mention a writer is comparable to or comes close to J.R.R. Tolkien, and, you know, that's like, okay, so what do you really write that makes you actually merit that adulation or that credit? Okay, so I have Julian May, co-author of Trillium, and like I mentioned before, most of these writers, one thing that they have in common is that they actually collaborated on one project or another. And Black Trillium here is a project that she at one point had actually collaborated with Marion Zimmer Bradley, who I mentioned first before on. And she actually started the Black Trillium trilogy with Marion Zimmer Bradley and Andre Norton. So there you have it, book one, suppose. I'll just go into the synopsis shortly. I think the book two is the Sky Trillium. No, the book two is the Sky Trillium. Yeah. Yes, Sky Trillium. And then we have book three is the Blood Trillium, and all three make the trilogy of the Black Trillium. And this is really, so it really has an interesting premise. I haven't gotten into that, and I think you'll find a summary of the full summary of the full summary of the premise itself. And we have three of it starts or reads, and I'm taking this from the Blood Trillium book. It says three of fantasy's finest talents combined in the writing of Black Trillium to tell the story of the triplet princesses of the royal house of Rwanda. Now Julian May returns to the world she created with Marion Zimmer Bradley and Andre Norton as the dark power imperils the fate of Rwanda and the entire world of the Three Moons. And I think I remember reading further, and I may not have the time to go into that, but the story follows these three sisters, and the three the calamities that happen around them, and how the three sisters come together to with their different nuances, with their different powers, with their different characters to bring the world to order. And that's it. I did buy some other books. Now don't ask me how much I spent. It was well within my budget, and I'm saying this for legal purposes. My wife may be listening and be wondering if I overspent, but everything was really kept well under budget. The kids did get some books, so yes, that satisfies another criteria. But in all, it was a great experience. I enjoyed the book sale. It's an annual one. It closed within a week. I was able to get all the books I wanted. I was really satisfied. I didn't leave. The book sale didn't end, leaving me feeling like I could have gotten any other book. I did not go after any literary books, poetry, or I felt these were the ones that I really needed. I think I have enough now to pile up on my TBR, and really look forward to reading through the TBR before the end of the year, while I still wait for the next annual book sale by the BGC, by the Boys and Girls Club in St. John. So yeah, if you've been to any book sale recently, maybe even live in St. John, let me know. And which books did you pick? And let's talk about it in the comments.